Hello, hello. I hope everyone's enjoying the show and more fun things to come. My name is Viren Mehta. I'm the CTO of Spherex, and I am here to talk about a problem that I believe every studio, every distributor, every streamer has today. And the fact that the tools that are used to solve the problem are, I believe, fundamentally the wrong approach. So, what's the problem I'm talking about? The problem is that clearing video content for global distribution to get to international markets, etc., relies on approaches that are manual, which are inconsistent, which are expensive and don't easily scale. And the AI tools which have been developed for the most part to solve those or to automate this process are trying to solve a different version of the problem. So, what did we do to fix it? I guess is the topic that we'll talk about. Okay, so let me frame the problem for you first, the scale of it. When we talk about global distribution, when we talk about international markets, there are about 200 plus territories out there with meaningfully distinct cultural sensitivities. I'm talking about concepts like religion, dress code, alcohol use, violence in its various forms and depictions. These aren't just like ratings threshold, like rated G, rated R, PG. These are fundamental frameworks on how these norms define the way that content is actually experienced in that specific culture. And this is a big amount, right? So uh, pair that with the fact that there are about more than 1 million active titles globally being watched or used. I'm talking about movies, TV series, episodes, etc. And this number is growing every year. So you can start to visualize the scale of the issue at large here. So what do most folks do? Different content creator teams, they actually have their own specialized teams for this purpose. That tends to be the primary starting process for it. These are teams of regional experts. A lot of times these are consultants. A lot of times these are employees and groups. They know specific regions and they are sometimes very good at it. They understand the local nuances. They know what matters, what doesn't. Content which would work in that place without being offensive, etc. They're great. The challenge that happens with this, though, is that as you start to scale, as your ambitions grow, as you try to increase the number of territories that you want to target and send your content to, this cost increases linearly, right? You have to get these teams and hire more local experts and SMEs and all, which is pretty painful. And to make it interesting, 80% of the time when folks are looking at stuff, there's a lot of repeat work that is happening because the nuances are kind of adjacent to each other a lot of times. There are clusters of these territories. There's a lot of waste, inefficiencies built into the system almost by default, right? So, well, everything knowledge work is now being aided so ably by AI. We have AI agents which are stepping in to help out with most workflows that humans are doing today. So this problem is ripe for using AI for. So that should just solve it. There are issues with AI, the generic AI, as I like to call it, the default out of the box or even tuned AI, which makes this problem difficult to solve. So let's talk about that somewhat. So why does generic AI fall short? What happens? Right. So AI hallucinations have several different reasons, right? Whole host of them. The three that I'm talking about here in this context, which are important, are structural in nature, and they make it really difficult to solve this issue today, right? I think one which just about anybody can relate to right away is the fact that the bedrock of data that is used to train AI largely has emerged from internet and online content, which was crafted by a small set of communities worldwide. And so most of internet emerged in North America, Europe, and in English. And there's even an acronym called WEIRD, which is used to explain the content of that data about how it's Western, it's English, it's industrialized nations, it has democratic values, etc. So like different norms and concepts that these communities had is just implicit in all the data that is out there. Even if there's representation of concepts for other communities, that a lot of times is from the eyes of the person writing it, let's say from a Western angle, writing about uh, African nations, etc. A lot of times. And the content from these other regions is not always in the same format, which is easy for the models to absorb, including frontier models. So as a result, these models are really good at understanding the sensitivities of, let's say, the Western audience, the North American audience, the European audience, but try to map the same concept over to, I don't know, Nigeria, South Korea, even Australia sometimes, which is distinct in its own ways, and things start to fall apart. This is not something that you can just fine tune. This is something which is almost structural and systemic in it. So the bias is overwhelmingly there, and this is why the nuances that we think of in terms of the color of dress that somebody is wearing on a beach, or the script on somebody's clothes, or the specific kind of a symbol on the back wall of a scene, they are not always able to gather it unless it is catered to the Western audience. That's the nature of it. The other aspect that actually happens is there is a video brings a lot of modalities together, right? You have image, you have text, you have sound. A lot of models analyze a video on a frame by frame basis. So they're good at image analysis. They're getting better at object analysis, for example, but still not to the level where they need to be, but they're getting pretty good at it. Okay. A whole bunch of them additionally also look at, let's say, text or speech. They convert speech to text and try to get dialogues out of things. But this is not very common that they look at them. And if they do, it's not very common that they look at them together at the same time. But this stitching together of these various modalities is actually very important to identify specific events. All right. A hand gesture, a line of dialogue, a specific musical cue, by themselves, may be pretty, sort of safe or nothing to talk about. But when you bring them together, they might actually represent something offensive, which you just cannot capture if you are not looking at them together in one go. So that's a significant issue today with generic AI or the AI models that are available. And then finally, this is something that not everybody thinks of. You are doing your frame by frame analysis. This is really a time bound thing. There's a temporal aspect which is lost when you're doing that. And you can potentially work on it and, let's say, stitch together a scene. But almost all models, at least the ones that I know of, and I know pretty much all of them at this point, they don't keep track of history. So it's not easy for a model to remember what happened at minute 10 of a video and see how it correlates back to minute 40. And sometimes this is very important because over a period of time, you have established sometimes relationships between characters, or there's an escalation happening of something which matters to some regions more. And if you are just kind of keeping track of your immediate local time range, you miss out on those things. So this context is very critical to identify some things which matter a lot. And this is rarely handled by generic AI, which is out there today. That's it's not built for it, right? So I guess most of those should give a clue of how we fix it. But what did we do to solve this, right? So Spherex built a multimodal AI pipeline from ground up. So from the beginning, we were aware of the fact that these different modalities matter. Keeping these contexts together mattered. So when we built our workflows and our models, we made sure that we are taking all the modalities in question. So the vision analysis of it is not just looking at scenes, a gesture, a bottle of alcohol or a glass sitting somewhere or a gun in somebody's hand. We're looking at it in the context of what's really happening by stitching together the sequence and building out scenes and the narratives from the video. This really tells us what's actually happening instead of what is visible. And that distinction is important. From an audio perspective, we do speech to text analysis. Of course, like I think most everybody can do this, but we also take into account um, sounds in the background, which are non-textual or non-words. You have gunshot sounds happening offline. You have dark room, um, not enough light, but there are sounds which can tell you what's going on. There are all sort of contexts which are available, which enrich what you can see on the screen, which you can't always just tell by the visual thing. So we capture all of this. And we have trained these, and in some cases we are taking off the shelf, in some cases we have trained as and when it is needed, audio models which are trained in over 30 languages right now, which helps. These are specifically trained in that sense. Textually, we look at a lot of things together at the same time. We look at dialogues, we look at subtitles, we look at metadata embedded inside the content as well. And this is all crafted together to create a scene narrative, uh, uh, which allows us to look at the arcs of the story, where things are ending, what's happening, and construct metadata, essentially a knowledge graph behind the scenes, etc. Formulations which help us capture and connect things across the entire video back and forth. So this, as I said, I don't think anybody else does it right now. We have built this over a long period of time. We have been with AI since before it used to be called AI. It used to be called machine learning. We've been doing this back then, and we've been training our models from quite a bit of time, and we have sort of tried to stay ahead of the state of the art across the way. So, and that is because we know what we're doing. As you stitch these together, that's really when you start to capture the cultural context, which helps identify genuinely offensive stuff, which is difficult to capture by AI, just analyzing things alone. A human can catch it right away. AI finds it difficult. So this is critical for doing this in an automated fashion. So I do want to talk about some sort of some numbers which are important to call this out. Everybody may make the claims that they do. We find that all the work that we did, um, our pipeline or our workflow, our solution improves from a cost perspective. Uh, we have gone down to at least half by being smart about which set of models that we use. A good combination of smaller models, sometimes our own, sometimes a smaller version of a model provided by a frontier model provider, as well as heavy lifting being done by the heavy ones as needed. And some of this is context based. So that allows us to bring the cost down significantly while retaining about 97% of the accuracy that you would get from a full blown high end model pipeline. Uh, the way we have used some of the GPU solutions using the underlying kernels, etc., we have managed to get about 3 times, I would say, reduction in throughput, which is actually important because time savings like this help when you have a large library, a big catalog of videos, TV series, etc., that you want to process fast. So time matters. Um, there are times when we, in some scenarios, where we actually use quantization, etc., all kinds of techniques to speed up inference that matters, as I said again. And we have other optimizations, like we understand it's not every frame that you need to process. There is some distinction between them. There are some unique frames that you process, etc. You can stitch together the meaning without necessarily looking at everything that you need to, and you do that somewhat intelligently. The scene boundary matters here, right? So you actually have a long video. You want to break that into the right set of scenes, and if you don't do that boundary correctly, then your answers can start to get wonky. It's a technical word. And we do this scene boundary detection about 92% of the time matching a human along the way. So we do have expert humans who have created our benchmarks that we correlate ourselves against. So not just against, let's say, a judge model or something else, because they have their own set of weaknesses. Use judge models for internal analysis as well, but for the most part, we use humans. And these are not third-party benchmarks, but these are benchmarks which are in production. So today, uh, so we're pretty confident about these as they go. So what's next for us? I try to put this down in some time frame, but I have found lately that just about every time frame that you put out there is getting more and more compressed, because the tools to help us do things are just getting so much better. So take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, but this is still conceptually, it breaks things down into the direction that we are going, right? So immediate everyday focus is to keep on reducing the cost, right? So we look at the various compliance workflows that we build along with the right set of models, so that we can run what we do today ever cheaper as we can, right? This, I think, just about everybody is trying for it. One of the areas that we're looking at is real-time live moderation. This is something that we haven't done so far, because a lot of our pipeline originally was orchestrated for libraries or batch mode or stuff. So we had some time and how long we took to process. Now we have the architecture to run this in real time, and we are building that out with various levels of accuracy depending on the needs of the customer along. The next big set of things which are probably going to be visible will be, there are some big customers who really want to run our solution on-prem. They don't want to put it on a cloud. We are available on multiple clouds, but they still want to run it internally. So we have a solution architected for it that we need to make available as needed. There are some customer-specific compliance conditions, right? So people have various requirements beyond, let's say, these 200 categories. Airlines want to show stuff in certain fashion on TV, on the shows which are being shown on a plane, etc. So they're like all kinds of things. And others have content they can show, same content in an office setting, etc. So we are looking for quicker turnaround in our fine-tuning abilities to be able to handle some of the scenarios. This is a big thing. And then multi-title intelligence is really, it allows us to do reasoning across an entire library, an entire TV show, series, etc., which helps capture some nuances even across. I mentioned a few of these, like character relationships, etc., set up in one point of the video versus used later. In a TV series, this happens all the time. That something was established at one point, and then later it is done at a separate point. So we are building cross-video intelligence abilities as well. But the fun thing, I think, which is we already have this in the works, but we are kind of doing it in a big way, is how. So you've taken the video, you've found the issues, you've told that this is really what is going to be a problem in this territory, etc. Now what? So we are working on generative solutions, which may actually even edit the solution to meaningfully convert the asset into something which will be usable in the territory that you care for. We have solutions for this, but to productize these properly and meaningfully will take some time. But as I said, that's what everything is speeding up now, even in our own past scales at the rate which things are going. A couple other things, but I think I'm getting to the. We have looked at pre-production scenarios that you could even come to us before you even start to film, saying, here is my content, here is my screenplay, here is everything that I'm going to create. What will be a problem in future if I try to show this into some other place? Can you find me all the things which seem okay to me, but they may have a problem? So, I think we are working to provide those as solutions from a product perspective. We have the solution architecturally. We are looking to provide it from a product perspective. Okay, so this is us. Let's talk. I have the email here, a QR code. Please take a picture if you need to. If you are a studio content creator, I would love to show how our solution works on your content and just demonstrate it to you. And if you're a platform and technology partner, we have APIs, we have our own MCP server, we have always different ways to connect and provide you with this culture concept that you can check for and apply in your scenarios, whatever they may be, as part of your overall workflow. So that's us.
You have any questions?
Yeah. So the question was, have we looked at other markets, like whether it's marketing clips, or there are short form of various kinds, specialized scenarios? I mentioned office training material, or whatever. Even your training material in an office may be okay in one region, not in another. When you show the same thing, etc. Yes, our solution makes it pretty straightforward. It's a question of a market fit for us, but the architecture and the product actually works fine in short form video as well. Um,
Right, yeah. Do you work with any of the local censorship boards for theatrical content?
we have relationships with movie boards in several territories. I don't recall the exact number. Davinder, do you know the number? We can talk offline, but we have deep relationships with a lot of boards. In fact, we have a history of sometimes helping the boards set up things because we have a more nuanced view of the world, um, and it has helped organizations in the past. But yes, we have Australian, New Zealand, British board. We have like relationships with a lot of boards. This is kind of how we started, almost with the ratings as our step one solution, saying how do you convert ratings from one board to another. So that's implicit in us. Yeah.